What is going on, guys? Liretto here, and welcome to today's video where we are going to be predicting the 2025 NBA standings for the Eastern Conference. Now, before we do get into today's video though, I want to give a huge shout out to you guys for all of the support that my first video did receive. I'm super appreciative of it, and it's just giving me more confidence to keep going, and hopefully that is the start for a long journey to come. And then lastly, before we get into the video, I want you guys to take some time right now and leave a comment, some crazy hot takes that you guys have for this next NBA season. So it could be something like the Miami Heat are going to be the #1 seed because Jimmy Butler's on his redemption. He's on his contract year and he's just going to turn up. It could be Jaylen Brown's going to win MVP. Just something crazy. It could be the Wizards are going to make the playoffs, because that might be the craziest hot take right there. I wonder what the Vegas odds are for that, man. If you put $1 on it, you should probably get back like 100K, because that's just throwing money away. But yeah, basically I'm going to be taking all of these comments and making a video within about 3 days or so, where basically I just read and react to all of your guys' hot takes and just give my opinions on them. So I think it'd be super fun. But let's just get into today's video. In number 15, we have none other than the Washington Wizards. So of course the Wizards, they had the 2nd overall pick this year and they picked Alex Sarr. He had a horrendous summer league, but honestly, I wouldn't look too much into it. Of course, there's always players that dominate summer league and then they're out of the league within like a month or two once they get their NBA contract. So I wouldn't look too much into it. I would, however, look into the type of shot selections that he was fallen with, and he was definitely shooting the ball a lot for a 7'1" player. And I think if the jump shot does continue to struggle, then he would just be a little bit more aggressive. But honestly, it's nothing I would look too deep into. And then of course Jordan Poole, you never really know what you're going to get from him, but if he can turn up and feel a little bit more comfortable, then maybe the Wizards could be like a top 12, top 13 seed. But yeah, I just don't really think this team has has the talent at all. Moving on to the 14th seed though, honestly, a team that I wanted to put in the 15th seed, the only thing that's saving them is the fact that they did get Tobias Harris, but I think their biggest flaw they did not address. So in my opinion, their biggest flaw is their shooting and court spacing around Cade Cunningham. And they had the 5th overall pick and they picked Ron Holland II, who's an athletic player, but he just doesn't fit the void that they needed. And I don't think Tobias Harris is going to be enough. I wonder what a lot of other predictions had, because I know last year Through the Wire Numbers on the Board podcast, they actually had the Pistons pushing for a play-in spot. I didn't see it back then. I still don't see it. So I have them at 14th. Moving on to the 13th seed though, I do have a team that I actually like the roster of, and that is the Brooklyn Nets. Now of course they got rid of Mikal Bridges this offseason to the New York Knicks, but I think their team is filled with a bunch of quality role players, and if I was a GM of this team, I would definitely capitalize on it. Depending on how hot of a start the Boston Celtics do get off to, there could be a lot of teams that feel like they're one piece away from a championship. And there's also a lot of teams that I think are going to be very desperate, like the 76ers, who are pushing up there in age. And I think if they are in like a top 3 seed, they could be desperate to make a move. And I think Brooklyn could definitely capitalize on this and, just get a lot of draft picks. Quickly moving on to the 12th seed though, I do have the Charlotte Hornets. Now this team is interesting. Of course, I think the biggest thing is LaMelo's health. If he's healthy, they could be a top 10 seed, a play-in team for sure. But we just haven't been able to see that over the past couple of seasons since his All-Star season. And, Brandon Miller, definitely an amazing pickup. I think this team's going to be fun to watch, but I think they're still like 1 or 2 years away from truly competing for a playoff spot. Moving on to the team that is just missing the play-in in the 11th seed. And we have the most boring team in the entire league. It's engraved in my mind. A lot of you guys came from Kenny's channel, and that is going to be the Chicago Bulls. He's been saying it for like 3 years now. So it's just engraved in my mind that this team has no direction. I did like that they actually got rid of DeMar DeRozan. They picked up Josh Giddey, which could be a nice pickup. And then depending on Lonzo's health, there could be a decent point guard selection right there. But I don't know. There's just something about this team that's missing. The roster's there, but I just don't have this team better than the team I have above them, which is the Toronto Raptors. And of course, Scottie Barnes, an amazing player. And I think his team, it's just built better around him, if that makes sense. I think the Chicago Bulls are still a little confused on what they're doing. They picked up some young pieces, but then they're still keeping some old players like Vucevic, Zach LaVine. And yeah, I just think the lack of direction and the lack of the all being on the same time frame might mess them up a little bit. Now taking a look at the 9th seed, we have a team that they probably could be higher, let's be real, but they just never been able to mesh the way you wanted it to when this roster was constructed, and that is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, the Cleveland Cavaliers, of course, last year, when Evan Mobley did go down with his injury, they went on a crazy win streak, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. I just feel like this roster doesn't mesh the way you would want it to, and I think they should have definitely looked to trade one of the pieces and just build around either Jared Allen or Evan Mobley. They could have got a nice like 3-and-D wing, even if it's just a, like a Dorian Finney-Smith caliber wing. I think it just would have fit the team a lot better. Hopefully Max Strus does shoot the ball better as well, and this team could definitely still be like a very high top 6 seed, but I just don't really trust it anymore. Now, moving on to the 8th seed, probably the hardest team to predict, and that is none other than the Miami Heat. You never really know what you're going to get from Jimmy Butler, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy Butler does take this regular season serious. He is getting up there in age, and of course, as I did say in the intro, he's on a contract year, so you never know if he's going to try to make one last big push to get that huge payday. And then of course, Pat Riley didn't really kind of put up with what Jimmy Butler was doing last season. He wants them to take the regular season more seriously. So that could definitely propel them into even a top 5 seed. Bam Adebayo, definitely a defensive player of the year candidate. And I think if they do push top 5, he will win it. Now, taking a look at the 7th seed, we have the Indiana Pacers. Now, this is a team I feel like you guys might want a little bit higher, but I think 7th seed is good for them. Obviously a very highly offensive team. They picked up Pascal Siakam last year, and when they're on, they are on. We saw what they did to the New York Knicks when they were hitting their shots, blowout games. And, this team is definitely a hit or miss type team. Now, adding Pascal Siakam, I think definitely adds the versatility that they needed. But I feel like he helps them more in the playoffs when the tempo kind of slows down a little bit. And I think in the regular season, it won't really make as much as a difference. But they've definitely had a lot of breakout players. And if Tyrese Halliburton can get back to how he started this season last year, this team could be dangerous as well. Now, finally, moving on to a team I'm optimistic on. I feel like I was kind of pessimistic on a lot of these bottom teams, but that's just how it is with the teams you have in the lower half of your bracket. But I have the Atlanta Hawks at number 6. Now, that feels a little bit crazy, and it's just pretty much going on Pierre's saying, which is the less is more theory. I think with getting rid of DeJounte Murray and just allowing Trae Young to have the ball a lot more where he's comfortable with it, I think they're going to do well again. He's a top 10 offense in himself, and I think Jalen Johnson can kind of replicate what John Collins brought in the 2021 NBA season, as well as being a better defender. And just with that, I think Trae Young's comfortability with the ball, I think this team will actually surprise some people and be a top 6, top 5 seed in the East. Now, finally, moving on to the top 5, we are going to be starting off the top 5 with the Orlando Magic, a roster I absolutely love. I love the direction that this team is going in. And unlike the Detroit Pistons, they actually addressed their flaws. One of their flaws was their offensive firepower, their shooting, and they went ahead and picked up KCP, a very nice 3-and-D guard. And I think, moving Jalen Suggs to the point guard position, it's just going to allow this team to flow so much better. Defensively, they're going to be pretty nice. And then Franz Wagner and Paulo Banchero with the court spacing. I think it's just going to work. Paulo is just a monster. He reminds me of a young Carmelo Anthony in certain ways. And I just have a lot of high hopes for this team. I think this team's going to be very, very dangerous. So here's where I feel like it gets a little tough. I wanted to put the Magic above of this 4th seed team, and that is the 76ers. But just, when you got an MVP candidate, you got Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, you got the shooting, I think this team's going to be the 4th seed. I have to give them the benefit of the doubt, even though they finished lower in the seedings the past couple of years. Adding Paul George, huge pickup, number 4. Here's where it gets fun though. We have the top 3. Do I have the Celtics, the Knicks, the Bucks? I think any of these 3 teams could definitely win the East. Those are my top 3 for sure. But I went ahead and picked the Bucks. Now the Bucks are my favorite team in the East, but I can't deny what the Knicks had done the previous year. They finished with the 2nd seed and Julius Randle was injured for the majority of the season. And I think with picking up Mikal Bridges, the chemistry that the team has, they were a team that I honestly thought could push towards number 1. But I went with the Bucks, and then at number 2, like I just say, the New York Knicks. Picking up Mikal Bridges, such an amazing offseason. They actually forced a trade with Brooklyn, which that hadn't been done in like 60 years. So I thought it was impossible, but they got the Villanova boys back together. And yeah, you know, it's nothing like hooping with your best friends, man. It always just gives you plus 10 shooting, plus 10 defense, the vibes, you know? So I got the New York Knicks, number 2, comfortably. And then, of course, at number 1, we have the Boston Celtics. It was never really up for debate. They were miles ahead of every other team last year in the East. And, you know, they showed us in the playoffs they're a dominant team now that they have the confidence. And the one thing about them is I think they're going to be hungry, because the funniest thing is, you know, usually when a team wins a championship, they can kind of take the regular season content, just relax, you know, no stress. But with what happened in the Olympics with Jason Tatum not playing, I feel like he might be a little angry. Jaylen Brown getting denied a roster spot. They might be on some, yeah, we back for round 2, because y'all are still sliding us even after we won a championship. And then, of course, Drew Holiday and Derek White played, so they might be feeling like they're on par with KD. So I feel like it just played out perfectly for the Celtics to just be hungry. Their confidence is going to be high. And yeah, the Celtics I still have just winning it all, man. So that is my 2025 NBA predictions for the Eastern Conference. Let me know what you guys do think about it. And then definitely comment down below ways I can make these videos better. I will be getting a camera soon, so that way you guys can actually see what I look like. Am I a 6'7" black dude? Am I a 5'2" Mexican? Who knows? You guys will figure out soon though. But yeah, other than that, it's been Liretto. Thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely comment your hot takes. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say. And again, shout out to you guys, you know. I love the support. We got an amazing comment yesterday, and you know, just made my day. Just the engagement, watching the full video. I'm so appreciative. Other than that though, it's been Liretto, and I'm out.